What's going on, everyone? It appears that the Lakers' opportunity to acquire Kyrie Irving is officially dead. Now, obviously, you never know. These things seem to be changing day by day. But realistically, at this point, Kyrie Irving is likely off the table for the Lakers. So the big question is, what is next for the Lakers? What do the Lakers do? Where do they go from here? What do I think is going to happen? And of course, I want to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. Also, I made a video diving into were the Lakers wasting time trying to go after Kyrie Irving. I highly recommend you check out that video after this video. But when it comes to this whole situation, Kyrie Irving off the table, okay, fine. I do think the Lakers make a trade. And I'm not saying it's the Pacers deal. I'm not saying it's the Jazz deal. I'm saying it could just be a minor deal just to upgrade. I also feel the Lakers are going to make a trade just to say they made a trade, and it might just be something simple as like THT for, say, like a Cam Reddish or maybe like a Patrick Beverley and something, something along those lines. Also, the Lakers might want to move off a THT, one, because it's very likely what happens now is Westbrook stays with the Lakers. And I know a lot of people absolutely hate that idea, but I don't think it's the end of the world. You keep your cap flexibility. Not only do you keep your cap flexibility, I really believe in Darvin Ham. I really think Darvin Ham could get this to be at least serviceable. Frank Vogel did no favors for Russell Westbrook. The whole reason you got Russell Westbrook was to alleviate LeBron when LeBron isn't in games or he just misses games entirely. Yet you almost always ran Russ with LeBron. Yeah, you put Russ in the game, right? You start him for ego, all that stuff. You take LeBron out at the 5-minute mark or whatever. You let Russ run by himself, and you just alternate the two. If Russ is playing fantastic, then you close the game with him. If he's not, then you sit him. It's that simple. And I really do think Darvin Ham is going to be able to get the most out of Russ. Russ averaged 18, 7, and 7, and on paper, he looked great. But if you watched the games and you saw the reality, it was not good. But if Russ could average what he averaged last year, but on an efficient type of average rather than last year was just super inefficient, then I really think the Lakers are going to be in a great position because now you legitimately have a big three. If you could get a guy that night in and night out can give you 18, 7, and 7 with LeBron sitting out of the game, that is fantastic. Now you have a legit big three and you have a bunch of great role players. Shooting is still a question. Shooting is still an issue, but a lot of these guys I think are going to elevate their shooting just because they're playing with guys like Russ and LeBron that are just going to attract so much attention. But the Lakers could also make minor deals. Maybe they do go get a Buddy Hield, although that kind of ruins their cap flexibility. Or they go get a guy, like I said, like Patrick Beverley, who's an expiring contract. And if you trade THT, now instead of having $20 million next year, you have just under $32 million. And that's still not enough to get like a max for like a Kyrie or, some of these other superstars. But maybe a team will take maybe a player will take a slight discount, or maybe you could get a couple like solid, like mid-tier guys to put around, say Anthony Davis and LeBron. That could end up working. So I don't think it's the end of the world if they get Russ, but they also have, all the trades that have been rumored, right? You have the Buddy Hield and Miles Turner deal. I think personally at this point, that is the best deal. I think you get the twin towers down low who can alternate positions. You get a center that can block shots, shoot the three ball, really add to the floor spacing. He's also kind of an insurance policy for when Anthony Davis is out, because that was a huge problem last year, right? The Lakers, when Anthony Davis got hurt, they were in so much trouble because they didn't have any size. They went completely away from the 2020 model, and in many ways, this would be a sort of more athletic, younger version of the 2020 team, and many people are excited for that. You get the dead-eye shooter and Buddy Hield, although he doesn't really offer much outside of that, but you did get younger, better defensively, stuff like that. This could be a very solid team. This team could be legit. You could have these guys for the next several years. If it works, great. Now, you also probably don't have to give up both first-round picks in this deal. At least I hope the Lakers don't. But there are options. I do think, like I said, Lakers make a small trade at the very least. And even if you do this deal, you could probably still do the small trade. Like go get Hield, go get Turner, and then maybe you move THT and that other first for, maybe some complementary pieces to put around these guys. Something like that. Some mid-tier guy, some guy that really maybe helps elevate, insert the player that you'd like to see down in the comment section. But I think the Lakers still have a lot of options and, possibilities for what they could do. Again, not the end of the world if they keep Russ, in my eyes, in my opinion. I know there's a lot of you that feel otherwise, but this wouldn't be a plan B, right? This wouldn't be a terrible plan B at all. If you get the size, you still have your depth at center position, which is great because, again, Anthony Davis probably misses 20-plus games. Miles Turner, he might miss a couple games. He missed a couple games last season. So it'd be nice to have, those guys that could play multiple positions. Not just that, but Miles Turner, he could play the center spot, but he could also play the power forward position. So you could start Miles Turner and like a Thomas Bryant side by side. Both of them still have the floor space, and you still have the defense. You still have a lot of the interchangeable pieces, which would be huge for this deal. And I do think that this is a deal that we're very likely going to start seeing and hearing more about and see kind of getting more ramped up than it already has been. Jazz deal. Now, the Jazz deal, I do think, depending on what you're getting back, I don't want Mike Conley. The reason I don't want Mike Conley is not because I don't think he's a solid player. He is, but he's getting up there in age. He's more, in my eyes, a better backup. If you would have gotten Kyrie Irving and Mike Conley's your backup, you are in an amazing position. But they don't have that. And if you're swapping Russ for Conley, not really feeling that. Plus his contract, I think, is a very bad contract given his production. I think, again, he's more of like, he could be one of the best backup point guards in the league. But in reality, as you're starting, I don't think that that's the best scenario. But if you could get like a Bogdanovich, a Patrick Beverley, and maybe like a Malik Beasley, that would be, I think, huge. You get your two wing players, guys that can defend. Bogdanovich isn't the greatest defender, but he tries. He can be serviceable. Probably better in the team defense schemes, which I think Darvin Ham will do. Malik Beasley is a guy that can, light it up. Big body, wing player. That would be great. I wouldn't mind getting into the cap for that. Patrick Beverley, he would be a perfect complement next to LeBron as far as like that, point guard, quote unquote. But still prefer the Pacers deal. Now, there are talks and rumors, which I might even do like a little separate video for. But once we get some more information, I kind of was waiting to see if he actually gets signed. But Dennis Schroeder is a guy that has been linked to the Lakers for some time now, which I'm torn on. When it comes to Dennis Schroeder, if he is the Dennis Schroeder that we got last time that comes in and is like, I'm the guy, I'm starting, I'm this player, I'm the next up-and-coming star, keep that guy as far away from us as possible. But if he's humbled himself and he realizes, hey, I messed up, I'm willing to come in, whatever you need from me. You want me to start tonight? I'll start. You want me to come off the bench tonight? I'll come off the bench. Whatever you need from me, coach, I'm here. Let's do it. I'll play some solid defense. I'll go get you some buckets. Let's make this happen. I am all for bringing back Dennis Schroeder because I think he's a solid defender. I think he can provide some scoring. I think he does a lot of things. I also think Kendrick Nunn is another guy that is really being slept on, but I've done a whole video on Kendrick Nunn. But I wouldn't mind bringing a guy like Schroeder, and then maybe you go get like a Patrick Beverley and a Bogdanovich. You don't have to give up probably very much. Don't give up both firsts in that deal. But still think the Pacers deal is better. The Knicks deal, that's another deal that's been thrown out there. I pray for everything that the Lakers stay as far away from the Knicks deal as possible. And it's not that I don't like Randall. It's not that I don't like, Derrick Rose or Evan Fournier, guys like that. They're all long-term deals. We don't need it. We're better off just standing pat. I would rather keep Russ than go do the Knicks deal, especially with Randall. I don't think Randall is as bad as he was last year, but I don't think he's as good as he was 2 years ago. And he was worse than Russ was last year, which is crazy. So I kind of want them to stay away from that. But I do think we do some deal. I think something ends up happening before training camp, whether it's the Jazz deal or it's the Pacers deal. Russ, don't be surprised if the Lakers end up keeping Russ. I do think at this point, Lakers and Russ kind of need to just cut ties and move away from each other. I really do. And Russ kind of seems like that's what's going to happen too, right? Because you have Russ. He went and got Jeff Schwartz, who's notorious for getting guys the max buyout money, which any team that's going to acquire Russ is going to buy him out. So I think Russ kind of knows that the writing's on the wall. But this Kyrie situation muddied the water. There's a lot of things. The Lakers might look at everything, and if teams look at the Lakers as like, oh, you're really desperate now because you didn't get Kyrie Irving and won't do trades unless it's both first, I don't want to see the Lakers give up both first for Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. it's just not worth it. And Miles Turner is an expiring deal. He could just walk. And now you're locked in to Buddy Hield's contract, and he's not enough to make this team a contender. I just think it could be it has the potential to be disastrous. So if you could keep the first, that'd be great. I do imagine if the Lakers get Miles Turner, they're going to try to get him to sign an extension. But does he do that? Because he probably gets more in free agency, and then you run the risk of him leaving if it doesn't work out. Now, if it works great and you're like a legit contender and all that stuff, then I think he sticks around. You don't have to worry about it. But I just don't think you have to give up both firsts for the Pacers or the Jazz deal, because you're benefiting them, especially in the Pacers deal. One, you're helping the Pacers clear salary. Two, you're giving them something for Miles Turner. Miles Turner's leaving next season. So wouldn't the Pacers rather get something than nothing? Wouldn't you rather get a first-round pick than nothing at all? It's just kind of how I look at it. But I think the Lakers are going to be in a good position. I do think they are going to make some changes, some upgrades to the roster. They've talked about it from day one, even if it wasn't Kyrie. Now that Kyrie's off the table, I do expect them to kind of shift focus to the Pacers and like the Jazz, very likely. Maybe you can work out a deal to where you could get, like I said, if you could get like a Patrick Beverley, say you get Patrick Beverley, Miles Turner, and Buddy Hield, I think that's a home run for the Lakers. You know, and I would be okay with them, you know, giving up a THT, a first round, Westbrook, maybe a couple seconds, a pick swap, something like that. I don't think they'd have to give up both first in that deal and those deals either. I think THT and I think THT for Patrick Beverley swap is fair right there. And then, you know, for the Pacers deal, I could see like one first unprotected. So say like the 27 pick unprotected and, you know, maybe like a pick swap in a second or 2 seconds or something like that. I think that's more than enough if you're the Pacers to get that deal done. Nobody's banging on the door for Miles Turner and Buddy Hield. And it's not because they're not great players. It's just Buddy Hield doesn't offer you anything outside of shooting. And, you know, he's got a lot of money on his books. And he's not a guy that's going to move the needle that heavily to where, you know, some of these contenders and stuff are like, oh, let me go give up a first for this guy because he's going to just make our team that much better. And then Miles Turner, no team's going to trade for him because he could just walk, right? So, like, what assets are you going to give up for a guy that could just leave you? And a lot of the better teams in this league, they already have their centers. So they don't really have a need for Miles Turner. Just something to think about. But regardless, I think the Lakers are in a great position. I think they're going to be fine. I think that, you know, even if they have to run it back with Russ, I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. But I do expect them to make some trades. I think it could be several trades. It could be just one big deal. Maybe they do a 3-team deal, whatever. But I do expect between now and the end of training camp, a deal gets done. I mean, it could get done while you're watching this video for all we know. But I do think sooner or later, we are going to see a deal get finalized with the Lakers. But anyway, those are my thoughts and opinions. And as always, I pass the question on to you. Let me know yours down in the comment section below. What do you think? Do you think the Lakers get a deal done? Do you think they don't? Do you think the Lakers stand pat with Russ? If they do, would you be okay with it? Would you not? However you feel about it, let me know down in the comment section. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.